Welcome to the Modern Classrooms Project podcast. Each week, we bring you discussions with educators on how they use blended, self-paced, and mastery-based learning to better serve their students. We believe teachers learn best from each other, so this is our way of lifting up the voices of leaders and innovators in our community. This is the Modern Classrooms Project podcast. Hello and welcome to the Modern Classrooms Project podcast. My name is Zach Diamond, and I'm a high school media production teacher in Washington, D.C., and a Modern Classrooms implementer, of course. Today, I'm joined by Kendall Giacomini, MCP's Senior Manager for Math Curriculum Development, and Katie Pate, a middle school math teacher in Chesapeake, Virginia, and an MCP mentor. So I'm about to get math schooled here because I am not a math teacher. But anyway, welcome both of you to the podcast. Kendall, this is like your returning visit to the podcast, right? Welcome back and welcome, Katie.
Hello. Thank you.
It's exciting to have both of you. I am excited to talk about math, and sort of our topic today is a little strange. This is a new thing we're trying for the podcast. Katie is super active in the Modern Classrooms Facebook group, and we saw a post that you posted there, and we wanted to just kind of like talk to you about it and some of the feedback that you got on that post, because I mean, we want to like highlight the awesome things that are happening in the Modern Classrooms community and to sort of like shine a light on how teachers can support each other, right? I say this a lot. It's in the intro to the podcast. Teachers really do learn best from each other. And there's no better PD than, walking into another teacher's classroom and just seeing what they do on your planning period if you can. Let's go ahead and dive in. I mean, before we start talking about that, of course, you all should introduce yourselves. So tell us more about who you are, how you started your education journey, your Modern Classrooms journey, and what you're up to these days.
All right, I'll go first. So I am Katie. I teach in Chesapeake, Virginia. This is year 9 for me. Year 3 of fully implementing Modern Classroom, which I will never go back. It's amazing. So I guess 3 years ago, my admin here at the building, they knew I taught in small group. Normally, that was my sweet spot in my classroom. And so they came down with the Modern Classroom idea. My district was looking at piloting it. And so we visited a couple schools, spent the summer doing our internship with Modern Classroom, and then fully jumped in 3 years ago. And it has completely changed my classroom. I love it. I love how I can actually reach my students, and I feel like I get to join in that journey with them instead of just standing at the front and watching them do their journey. We kind of partner together in a smaller atmosphere in these small groups, and I really enjoy it. And so that's my journey with Modern Classroom. I loved it so much I chose to be a mentor, and my favorite thing is mentoring other teachers and helping them through the very scary, oh, how am I going to do this moments? Because we know they come. And so, that's me.
Yeah, I love that. So Katie, obviously we get lots of people on the podcast, lots of guests talking about how they'll never go back. I agree, I'll never go back too. I'm kind of interested as a follow-up question about the small groups. Like you were already doing that, and so they came to you because it was like it fit with the model kind of a thing?
Right. I had done a grant in my classroom, like I wanted small group tables, so everybody was sitting at one. And it was a lot of trying to figure out what do my kids do while I'm small grouping. And so I guess my admin was like, this could probably help her. And so
that's cool.
We dove in.
Yeah, this is a long journey, right? Like a long time in the making. Okay, I apologize, Kendall, because I haven't even let you introduce yourself yet. I already started with the follow-up questions. Go ahead, tell us more about yourself.
I'm already interested because there's not a lot of middle school, high school teachers that do small group things. So, that is really interesting to hear. I started my teaching career abroad, and then I came back to Minnesota, and I had no idea what I was doing. It's very different teaching abroad than it is here. So anyways, my district partnered with MCP, and I was one of the skeptical teachers of like, you're going to bring this thing to us and then you're going to, get rid of it in a year, so I'm not even going to bother with it. And my first year was during distance learning, and I was like, thank goodness for this, because fourth graders in distance learning and math, I'm not sure what I'm doing. So did that, and then I moved to 6th and 7th grade math, because I just teaching, I don't know, Zach, what you teach, but teaching ELA, I really just, I could not handle it anymore. So I went to teach just math, and I did the modern classrooms there. And they came to visit, which is how I connected. And now we're here. Now we're working for modern classrooms. I started in a different role, but now I'm on the math team. And so I'm very excited. I also, was on the journey of just like how do I make this better? I was a student who hated math, and I think this could have very much helped me in liking math and understanding math more.
For sure. Yeah. And that's been coming up a lot as we talk to more and more math teachers. Like the pacing of things, right? And that's kind of the topic of the comment we wanted to highlight from you, Katie, like the ability for students to take a little bit more time to understand these difficult concepts, right? I agree. I would have benefited from that too. So anyway, let's talk about the Facebook group and the comment you left in the Facebook group. Katie, I noticed when I was going in to look at that comment that you are a group expert. It says it by your name. And you were saying that you like to go in there and reply to people and help out. And that's also, I guess, you were saying why you became a mentor, right? It's something that a lot of us like to do. I feel like once you've been inducted into the world of modern classrooms, it's something you want to share because it's something that you can't imagine not doing. And so everyone who's not doing it and trying to figure it out, we want to help, right? But I love the Facebook group. It's a super supportive community. I'm not super active in it. I'm not super active on Facebook or any social media really. But like when I go in there, it's like people responding to each other, people asking questions about how to do stuff. It's a really supportive group. And I'd love to hear you just talk more about that. Like, are there often times where they're like, you get advice from others, you give advice to others? Just talk about the Facebook group, Katie, and your experience in it.
Absolutely. There's always someone in there either asking for help or just sharing something that they've made. I love to go in there and see, you can just content it down to your content, and I can see math. Okay, what cool things are people doing in their classroom? I've gotten my early finisher ideas from inside the Facebook group. People have posted part of their curriculum. And so if I'm having trouble with a specific content SOL strand, which is our standards here in Virginia, I'll go in there and see if anybody's posted anything about integers or anything fun going on in their curriculum that I can use. Or I'll ask questions, like I did here. I was struggling. Who has some help for me? And then I love to see the new teachers that are in there, and that, a lot of times they're asking, many teachers dive into this and their district isn't partnering with MCP. And so they kind of dive in by themselves. And, I don't have that because my district, dove in with us. So I didn't have that issue, but I love to help them through that because I don't want anybody to be alone. It's wonderful. And I don't want them to give up simply because they don't have someone supporting them. And so I love that the Facebook group rallies around those teachers, and you can see there will be like hundreds of comments on there, like, you got this, or here's how I talk to my, administration and things like that. And I really think as teachers, our job is tough enough. And so rallying together and ensuring that we've got each other's backs is exactly what we need to do.
Yeah, for sure. Kendall, are you in the Facebook group?
I am, but I think my 6th and 7th grade students at one point said Facebook was like for old people. And I was like, okay, so maybe I'll take a break. But I am. I'm a lurker more than a poster or a, provider of support. I like to lurk and just see what's going on. But I agree. When I was teaching, I was in there all the time because I was like, this is my first year doing this. I have no idea what I'm doing. Just like give me all the ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to have a model, right? Somebody who knows what they're doing or is trying stuff out, and you can be like, oh, I'll try that. Right. And definitely when I go in there, I don't go in there often, like I said, but when I do, it's like, there's just tons of stuff. It's always linked in the show notes for the podcast. So if anybody's listening and hasn't been in the Facebook group to check it out, I do recommend just clicking on the link and checking it out. It's a public group. You can just go into it. Okay. So let me read the comment that you left, or the post that you asked for help with, unit pacing here. Katie, you said, When you're self-pacing a unit, how many days do you give per lesson in your module? For instance, if you're teaching a module with 6 lessons total, how long would you usually give for that unit to last, to teach, practice, mastery check, remediate, remaster check for 6 lessons, then test the module? So really it's about unit pacing, right? And I love that. It's such a like nitty-gritty teaching question, right? I wonder, can you like tell me a little bit about like the dilemma that you were having before you went to the Facebook group?
Absolutely. So this is year 3. So it wasn't my first year.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said since the beginning, the pace for Modern Classroom is the most important thing when you're going into this journey. And I always tell my mentees that, because you have to know where you're going, because the pace can really mess you up with, your district restraints if you don't take time to see where you're going, how long it's going to take, where you're going to end up. And so I've always done that, and it's worked great. This year we had a little changes occur in our city pacing guide, and so I was having difficulties pacing my own classroom out, using and trying to stay within my pace that I was given. And so I was going to the group to see how long should I be allowing my students to work in these lessons. What is the usual? I know what I usually did, but I was just wondering what everybody else was doing, and if what I thought it should be was correct, or if maybe I was using too much time, or giving them too many weeks, or things like that. I work in a block schedule, so we see our kids every other day for an hour and a half. Which I know is different than a lot of middle schools. They stay typically seeing their students every day for 45 minutes, at least in our general area. So that was my dilemma, and I was hoping someone would have some advice. And there were quite a few people who commented, and almost the same things, about a day and a half per lesson to ensure students have the time to pace it out. Obviously, some are going to go faster, and we know that, and some will take a little bit longer. But I was having the dilemma of a unit that was supposed to last a week, which means I only see them 3 times, because Mondays we see everybody, and then block Tuesday through Friday. So I was struggling with, how do you fit in a self-paced unit in 3 days with 6 lessons?
For sure. I think that's like, so your question is, it kind of tailored to math specifically, but I definitely had a similar, I guess, dilemma. It wasn't like world ending or anything, but when I recently switched from teaching middle school to high school, I'm at the same school, right? But our middle school does use a regular 45-minute block thing, and the high school uses a block schedule. So I switched from these short classes to these really long classes, and sometimes I would be like, these classes are so long. Like I've mispaced this. I've done this wrong, because maybe I was planning the amount of work that would have filled a 45-minute class, or the unit was paced incorrectly, right? And yeah, it's like you need to go back and adjust that, because otherwise, the time can really, really stretch out, or the reverse can be true, right? Where kids are like scrambling and they just don't have enough time. And getting that pacing right is really important when there's freedom for them to pace themselves. If you leave too much time, I find, and I'm sure that many teachers find, kids can just completely lose the plot.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so like there needs to be that sense of urgency, right? And that comes from planning the unit pace. So I think it's a great like concern to bring to the group, because it's not just you that's worrying about that. I'm interested, like with the 1.5 day response, do you like switch mid-class when that happens? Like how does that play out?
I took it as they were averaging it out. So when we switched to block, I still think of my block day as 2 days. That makes sense, 45 minutes. So in my head, that's how I think of it. So when they said a day and a half in the group, I assumed it was a day and a half of 45-minute bells ish. So absolutely, we when I count my pace out, I count them as one block day is 2 days
Interesting. Okay.
in my head and in my pace. So
Yeah.
I should technically get through about 2 lessons ish in a block.
Got it. Kendall, how about you? Was this an issue that you also found when you were teaching? Did you teach block periods also or short periods?
My first year teaching middle school was block, and then they changed us to 45-minute, which really,
You went
messed up.
backwards.
That was
that's worse. Yeah.
We requested blocks and they said no. But yeah, it was tough. And I agree with you that first, because I came right out of elementary and I went to block schedule. And so I was like, I'm with these kids for a really long time. And I think my biggest hurdle with the pacing was just, how long do I actually want them to even be self-pacing within the period? They didn't have enough stamina at the time to self-pace for 90 minutes, nor did I really want them to self-pace for 90 minutes. So it was like, okay, if I want them to self-pace for 45 minutes and I'm looking at my lessons, I'm thinking, like, kind of like you, Katie, it was about a lesson and a half to 2 lessons that I thought that they could get through in that 30 to 45 minute period. But I also was using a curriculum that didn't have a lot of extra things, right? So it was video notes, practice, mastery check. That was pretty much the consistent cycle. And so I felt like a lesson and a half to 2 lessons was the right pace when it was content that was a little bit more straightforward, right? Like early on in the year, yeah, we can probably get through a lesson and a half to 2 lessons. When we get to like more complex parts, maybe it's different. But I'm not sure what it is like in Virginia, but I also knew in my mind that there was going to be a unit or 2 that could come after state testing. And so that kind of also played with my pacing a little bit, because I believe my district wanted me to do all of it before state testing. And I knew enough that I could do some of it after the state testing. So that also, adjusted the pacing a little bit. But 90 minutes was a lot to try and determine like how much can they get through in one sitting.
Yeah, that's been my experience too. I mean, like, you definitely, sometimes you like strike gold where the days just like, the class just like flies by. But man, I actually can't even imagine with middle schoolers what that would be like. With the high schoolers, it can feel kind of boring, but like they're not running around or jumping or yelling or anything. Yeah, like I was just talking with my coach about this actually. We like thinking about structuring units in order to create those days, right? Where like, and using deadlines also. Deadlines, hard and soft deadlines to create that sense of urgency, right, in a very long class period. Because, yeah, if it's like I'm not pausing. I usually have 1 day per lesson, or sometimes more than 1 day per lesson, depending on what the task is. But my class is a little bit different, right? Being very project based, like kids need time to schedule with other teachers who they're going to interview, right? So you can't necessarily bank on getting it all done in 1 day with everyone, or every student or every group. So there has to be a little bit of wiggle room, and the block periods are actually great for that, because it's easier to schedule in those bigger periods. But like the deadlines are helpful in getting kids to understand, like, you do have the freedom to self-pace a little bit, but this has to be done by this date. And I have been working on incorporating more deadlines throughout a unit, rather than just being like, it has to all be done by the end. Because if it's all due at the end, you get kids who just sort of sit around the whole time and then have to either scramble or not get it done. Do you do that too? Like, are deadlines a thing that you use in your pacing?
Absolutely. I have soft deadline. I have my test date is my hard deadline. That module is due on test day. And then throughout the module, I'll have soft deadlines. Like, if you're on pace, this should be due this day. And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, all my kids are hitting those soft deadlines because they don't want to not make it to that test day. And they know that if they wait, it will be a lot there at the end. And they don't like that.
What is a soft deadline? Like, how do you hold them accountable? Is it a grade? Is it a formative or?
So I'll say your lesson is due Tuesday, February 3rd, lesson 1 for module 8. And then I'll put those grades in the grade book, and they won't have a grade in there until they have something to show me for it. And so,
But you go back, right? Like
absolutely.
if they then submit it, you regrade it.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Or, if I'm reteaching and they have to redo the mastery check, I go back and that grade takes its place. And so in the middle of the module, we have that room for change and movement. But that test, that's the date.
yeah. That's the
But
end.
keep up with those dates in the middle and you won't be stressed at the end.
So you mentioned some of the responses to that comment. Can you talk a little bit more about what was said in response, besides just like the day number, and also if you've implemented any of that feedback and how it's looked for you?
Sure. So I did. I had to change up my city pace a little bit, and I took the information that I received from that post. Like this is the general normal time frame that kids need in order to ensure that they are mastering the content. And I thankfully we have a wonderful administration who takes what we say and is like, absolutely, you are the person who knows what works best in your room. And so they took that and allowed me to move my pacing with what I needed to do to ensure my kids were meeting their goals. Most of the comments on there were just that, like it takes about a day and a half, and that for like a soft deadline to make sure that you're giving them enough time to actually master it. Don't do a 3-day lesson, because that's what I was worried about. I'm giving them 6 lessons and only 3 days to do it. That's not enough time. I mean, that's not enough time for me. I don't even have enough time to assess them and reassess them, and so I think the comments just showing me what I knew and what I thought. I wasn't crazy. I knew what I should do. And so thankfully we have the support there and they backed me up.
Yeah, for sure. But that gets to the community piece, right? Like sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah.
The validation, right? And the support to just be like, yeah, you're good. You're doing it right.
Right. I'm not crazy here.
Kendall, do you have anything to add?
Well, I was just going to say, I think when you were speaking, Katie, on saying like, here are the hard deadlines. I know that this test needs to be done on this date for us to continue moving forward, and then going back, right? So bigger picture first, then going back and saying, okay, now how do these lessons fit into these days? That's so helpful. I think that's one of the easier ways to do it, just to be like, okay, I know we need to hit these dates. And when you were saying the kids, they want to stay on pace. If you see they're not on pace, that's another great opportunity to pull them for a small group, right? So yeah, it all circles back together. Yeah.
Absolutely. Teachers ask all the time, well, how do you make them stay on pace? They won't want to do it. Well, that's what your small group is for. Yes. That's our one-on-one. Come on over here, buddy. Let's get on pace.
Sometimes they don't want to meet with you in a small group, so they make sure that they stay on pace.
Absolutely. Now there are some like that for sure.
And I don't know, like I think that they do want to stay on pace. You just sometimes kids, for whatever reason, there's lots of reasons they can't.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, I had a student today. I just started it's the new semester. We just started a brand new, I have half credit classes, right? So they switch over to new students at the semester. And I have, a kid who, he spent maybe like 20, 25 minutes of this block period, 85-minute period, just like poking at Soundtrap, the application that we use to make music and produce audio. And he wasn't like getting anywhere. He was just like messing with it. He never asked me for help, but eventually I went in, I just sat down with him and I was like, why don't you try this and do this and this? He wanted to, he just couldn't, he wasn't getting it. He was doing like he's very capable. He showed me immediately. He picked the absolute hardest thing to possibly do in the app. So like he needed a little bit of guidance, right? I don't think he watched my instructional video, so maybe that's on him. But yeah, like for me, it all comes back to the pacing tracker, right? But in order for the pacing tracker to work, you have to have a lesson that's on pace. So yeah, Kendall, you're right. It's all connected. It's all connected. Alrighty. So trying to keep the episode a little bit shorter. So let's start wrapping up. I guess this question is for both of you, but what do you hope to see in the future and what goals do you have? And those could be professional, they could be personal, could be for your mentorship, Katie, participating in the Facebook group. I don't know. Anything. What do you hope to see in the future?
I just hope to see my students seeing that they can succeed and to keep building their confidence in the classroom.
For sure. Kendall, how about you?
That's a great one. As we are working a lot on math curriculum things now, I really do hope to see us grow in the curriculums that we can support teachers in, because I think that was a struggle of mine too. When I moved to 6th grade, it was a brand new curriculum. I was like, I guess we're just gonna try it and see what happens. And that tends to be a question as well of just like with the pacing, I've got all this curriculum to do. How do I do it all in this time period, whatever that is, and building all the things and then implementing it. So I really just hope to see us continuing to be able to support teachers in the curriculums that they're using. But also, I haven't been, like I said, I just kind of lurk in the Facebook group, but I really hope to see that continue growing too, because I do think there is so much beneficial content. And like you said, Katie, it's nice that you can kind of filter things down to your grade level or your specific curriculum or the subject that you're teaching. And I know it is continuing to grow. I know that. I think there's 60,000 members. I'm not sure the number at this point, but
yeah, it's big.
It's huge. Yeah, just continuing to see that support, because I do think I was on Little Island. It was me and one other person. So we were on our little island, and it was nice to have that outside support.
Yeah. And I know that MCP is doing a really big push into math curriculum right now. So as with your position there, you have a lot on your plate, Kendall, I'm sure.
But it's fun.
But supporting math teachers, yeah.
But it's fun.
Yeah, for sure. So how could our listeners connect with both of you? Katie, obviously they can connect with you in the Facebook group. But do you have an email address that you'd like to share or anything else?
Sure, I have my Modern Classrooms email, Caitlin Pate at modernclassrooms.org.
All right, I'll have it in the show notes so no one has to go trying to figure out how to spell it or anything.
Yeah, good luck with mine too, my last name. Mine is also, it's the normal Modern Classrooms email. Also, if you're a reader, you can find me on Goodreads.
I think you mentioned that last time too, that you were on the podcast.
I did, and nobody added me, so I have to mention it again.
Oh, you got to mention it again. I definitely linked it. I'll link your previous episode too, so everyone will have multiple opportunities to add you on Goodreads.
Great.
I don't use Goodreads, otherwise I would. I don't use any social media, otherwise I would have. Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. This was great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Listeners, remember you can always email us at podcast@modernclassrooms.org, and you can find the links to topics and tools we discussed, as well as more info on this week's announcements and events, in the show notes for this episode at podcast.modernclassrooms.org. We'll have this episode's recap and transcript uploaded to the Modern Classrooms blog on Friday, so be sure to check there or check back in the show notes for this episode if you'd like to access those. And if you enjoy our podcast and it's been helpful in supporting you to create a blended, self-paced, mastery-based learning environment, we would love if you could leave a review. That does help other folks find our podcast. And of course, you can always learn the essentials of our model, if you want to go beyond the podcast, through our free course at learn.modernclassrooms.org. And you can follow us on social media at modernclassproj. That's PROJ. We are so appreciative of all the hard work you do for students and schools. Have a great week, and we'll be back next Sunday with another episode of the Modern Classrooms Project podcast.